I am not Steve Banker. Steve Banker couldn't be here today, and last night Rako asked me to say a few words. My name is Steve Pizer. First, I'm going to read the words that Steve Banker, who is ill, wanted said. And then I would like to share with you a few words, a few memories I have of Robert. I am still in disbelief and saddened by Bob's sudden passing. I met Bob in 1983 when I, a young real estate broker, listed a property by R.M. Lane, optometrist, no relationship to Bob. Dr. Lane was well known for his hidden bifocal ads on KTVU. I was on the second floor of the building and opened what I thought was a fire exit when I walked into Bob's office in the adjoining building. I was unaware there was an easement between the two owners of the properties. From that awkward first moment, that awkward first encounter, grew a friendship and professional relationship. Bob was my friend, mentor, attorney, and client. Although Bob was very good at many facets of the law, I feel he was best in negotiating settlement in complex litigation. He had a brilliant mind, and I always felt in those negotiations Bob was playing chess with opposing counsel. Well stated. I have a nerdy hobby, a passion for trains. Yes, I am a foamer. Bob would regularly send me everything from postcards with trains on them to 3x4 frame pictures of the 20th Century Limited. In getting ready for Easter brunch at our house a few weeks ago, my wife found a small pewter steam engine in the silverware drawer. Yes, another one of Bob's thoughtful gifts reemerged. Nisa, Nare, Lindsay, Bob adored you all and was very proud of you. Whenever I mentioned one of my kids' athletic or academic endeavors, they were outdone by Bob's enthusiastic description of your professional, educational, creative, and artistic talents and accomplishments. Rako, Bob thought the world of you and was very proud of your musical achievement. Bob is and will be missed. I still cannot believe he is gone and keep thinking I may still get that early morning phone call. And I know Steve would love to have been here today, and these are hard times. Last night I got home from somewhere, I don't remember where, not because I was drunk, but just I'm getting old. And I looked in my email, well, my wife was in the other room because I'm not allowed to look at my email late at night. And I saw a note from Rako saying that Steve Banker was ill and asked if I could say a few words. I clicked back right away and said, of course. Then I started to figure out, what am I going to say? I was wondering, what could I really say? I knew Robert for many, many years. First, I think we had a case against each other. I'm a lawyer. And second, sometimes he would send clients to me, and sometimes he'd call and we'd chat about issues. And I remember one thing when I first met him is that I would talk about his middle name, which was Kingsbury. And I grew up in the North Valley, northern part of Los Angeles, which was the poor part, and Robert grew up in the rich part. But right near to where I lived, there was a street called Kingsbury. And so I never got a straight answer as to whether or not it was named after his family or not. But he kind of let on that it was, but maybe it wasn't. I see somebody nodding. you know, our relationship changed a few years ago in 2020 when he got involved in a transaction that required him to need a lawyer. And, you know, when you go to a lawyer, the filters that you normally have when you deal with people have to be eliminated, because you have to make sure that the lawyer knows everything, including the good and the bad, and there can be no surprises. Everything has to hang out. And clients sometimes don't want to tell you the bad facts, but because there's a lawyer-client privilege, they can do so with impunity and know that it's not going to be discussed until you're dead. Because the law says the privilege ends when you're dead. So I can talk a little bit more freely about things. There was nothing really grave to disclose, but our relationship was kind of tense at times. He didn't like the way that I wrote things, and I would ignore his criticisms. But what struck me most about Robert was his integrity. And integrity shows many facets. Sometimes it's the political stuff, the letters that Reverend Southern was referring to. I got those too. And his poems, his political poems. But one thing is that Robert was one of the most straightforward people as a client that I've ever met in 47 years of law practice. I'm not going to bore you with the details of the case. It went through a full trial. In a short summary, Robert and his partners went into a transaction where they were selling some property. And when you sell property in California, you're supposed to make disclosures, and there's like a list of things you have to disclose. The list is like Reader's Digest, and Robert wrote the Tale of Two Cities list of disclosures. There was everything in there. There was a loose nail on the second floor. There was this going on and that going on. This is disclosures by somebody who wants to proverbially tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And then there was a buyer, who I will characterize as a narcissistic, arrogant developer. And just in case you guys are thinking it was not one of our former presidents, and he tried to use COVID to whittle down the price. He said Robert committed fraud by not disclosing material facts. And Robert and his partners declined to be bullied to their credit, and it's also kind of a strong thing to do because cost is always an issue. And in investigating the case, I learned that Robert's disclosures, in each of them, they were simply stated, were complete and accurate, and they carried the day. And the judge who decided the case in finding for Robert and his partners agreed. He put it this way, and I'm quoting: "This was a case about allegations the sellers had failed to disclose material information in the formation of the final contract." And that's what it was about. And the judge went on to say that the buyer claimed the seller defrauded him by telling him the truth. And I read that and I said, wow, that's why he's a judge and I'm not. So Robert Kingsbury Lane was a man of impeccable integrity and principle. He's a man I'll never forget, who will have a lasting impression on me. And I suspect on many of you here today. Those are my prepared statements. There are two things I want to add. One, Steve Banker talked about the early morning phone calls. And I got to tell you, while this case was going on, every morning as I was driving to work, I would do 510-508-1944. And Robert and I would talk. I wouldn't charge for that. We'd just talk. And I'd say, sometimes I'd talk to him as a client, sometimes I'd say, you're the lawyer next door, what do you think? And the other thing that struck me was that Vladimir Putin waited until Robert Lane was gone before he invaded the Ukraine. Thank you.